Hi there. Um, you've heard me mention before how a few years back ago I went out to Montana and went to a cooking school. Um, so this project that I've been working on is inspired by that experience. I think I guess the best way to word it. I had a really good time when I was out there. Um, Probably since my mid 20s, I thought it would be really cool to, to, to do that kind of work, and most of that time, um, my younger, single, adventuresome years, I never knew how to pursue that, so it was always kind of a dream, and then that never got acted on. I didn't know how to even get into it. So anyhow, I went off to that school not too long ago, just for the experience, and to see if I could have done it, and I think I did pretty well while I was there. But again, this project, which I'm fixing to show to you, is inspired by that. I took a 10 by 10 canopy shelter and then made my own tent walls and all that stuff. You seen me do something makeshift um, for last fall when I cooked for Thanksgiving, and I was trying to make this a little more permanent. Ideally, I think I would really love one of them big canvas outfitter tents, but they're pretty expensive, and now is not a good time for me to be spending large amounts of money like that. I've looked also, and it's not quite as expensive, but then again it's surplus and secondhand, and you don't know what you're getting until you get it. But I've looked at some of the surplus mess kitchens too, tents, and they seem pretty neat, but that's probably a lot bigger than I'd ever need, unless I opened up a business of my own, and that probably wouldn't be very profitable in this area of the country. So anyhow, babbling and babbling and babbling, I'm sorry about that. So here is what I've done with my 10 by 10 shelter for my own makeshift camp kitchen. Okay, so I'm standing on the inside, give or take almost the direct middle too. So uh, here is the PVC pipe that I put up earlier. For right now, I do plan on leaving it disassemblable, so I'm never going to glue the 90s on. Might even put a little thing of Vaseline in the toolbox for them so they can stay lubricated. But I did get some holes drilled in the PVC so they will fit over the nut. That way I can let that up tight with that, and I hope probably going to have to do some trimming, I'm not sure yet, but to be able to run the corners out. Um, okay, this is going to make, just in case it makes less sense to me a year from now, I've got 4 corners, and everything is going to be specific for each side. I see this happening now. So I went back in, found me, got 4 colors also. So I'm just going to pick a color, and this is the first one on the list. So this is now going to be the black corner. Okay, I'm halfway done. Well, not done, but halfway finished with working this angle out. I've got, I went ahead and took the shoelaces off because these are more, I don't want to say permanent, but more, I'm done with this run anyhow. I went ahead and tied it up with a couple cable ties. That's holding it pretty good. I actually kind of like that idea, with the exception of every put up and tear down, you're going to wind up with sacrificial parts, and not that cable ties are a lot of money, but still, you know what I mean. There's a chance that you could forget to replenish them, and then next time you need it, not have any. So I thought maybe, like some hose clamps or something, but I don't think that's going to work out so good either. It might. Okay, I tried to do this steady. I'm using my phone for one, and no support. So I have finally, just in time too, finished the PVC rod railing system. Talked earlier, I went ahead and color coded everything. This is the black corner. This side will be black 2, and then this side black 1. That way I don't mess up. I kind of like the cable tie idea. It'll be sacrificial, but you can get some pretty good torque on that and not hurt anything. So I like that. I might continue to go that way. And the only thing I did not consider was the coupling, and I did not want to drill into the coupling, so I'm just keeping everything underneath all the way around. It works out pretty good. The same thing, one on one side, 2 on another, and then all the way around. So, okay, and I went with Velcro in several grommet areas along the edges. This here is half of an 8x10 tarp, or give or take half. It didn't work out quite right because my door won't close, but that's okay. As I overlapped it with the other tarps, I reinforced the corner seam with Gorilla Tape, and I did this all the way around. So I used 8x10s on the front and the back, because initially that's what I bought, was 8x10 tarps, seeing as it's a 10x10 shelter, well, canopy, but the 10s were awful tight, so I used 2 8x10s, and then I used 2 9x12s and sectioned them off. Another thing, and I'll show you when I get it outside, but I have never liked this canopy with the legs fully extended. There's really not too much inner protection between the two pieces of leg joints, and it just seems very fragile and flimsy. So initially I had it started off as being fully extended just in case, but it was too tight at ground level. So I backed it up to the middle leg extension, so at least I won't bang my head when I come in and out of it. And I had to shorten the base from the outside, and I'll show you that more when I get out there. I also have a nice little pulley so I can hang my lantern from there. It should be enough clearance so the heat from the lantern, because it's a Coleman lantern, doesn't hurt the roof. And I've got that running to a second pulley in the corner. And anyhow, so there should be plenty of lighting. Probably 80% sure I'm going to go with the Coleman lantern, and still waffling a little bit on LED lighting, but I haven't fully made up my mind yet. Okay, so here we are outside. You can see the roof itself overlaps the walls, so I shouldn't get too much leakage on the inside. And then everything is strapped in pretty good. Here is one of them unions between the two tarps. It was heavily suggested to me to use 3M brand 90 spray adhesive, which is holding up really well. I'm pretty impressed with it. There are some places though I might have to go back and touch up, and if you're not careful, it pulls apart pretty easy. So I do think I'm going to get some blue duct tape or something and just seal the actual union itself there. And this is what I'm finishing up on here, is making that a little bit tighter and tucking in these and putting some tent grommets in. Excuse me, as I go to the other side, I'll show you. So I'm just putting some grommets in all the way around to tighten this down. And the second thing I have not made up my mind on yet, if I'm going to leave this flap on the outside or if I'm going to fold it in and bring it to the inside. I think that's kind of trivial, but so yeah, I'm having to reinforce these corners, and that's not going to take me too much longer. I have decided to leave my phone in the house, which will speed up just about any of those processes. So I think it's coming along really well. I probably lack an hour of finishing everything. One other piece that I have not quite figured out how to do it yet, but I've got all my parts for it. I'll bring you out those and show you too. Is I have an extra 8x10 tarp that I want to slide in under here, and fold out and run like that, creating an awning. Okay, so here's what I've got in mind for pole uprights for my awning. I went to the hardware store yesterday, and this too is actually turns out to be the biggest expense item for the whole project, I think. And I probably could have get by with using some conduit pipe a little bit cheaper, but they didn't have any, so I wound up going with black plumbing pipe. I got the 1/2 inch. So I've got at the base, I've got a flange. I still need to drill out the holes just a little bit bigger because the big nail tent stakes, the nail-y part fits into it, but then the rest of the tent stake will not slide through there. So I'm going to drill them out just a little bit wider so they'll fit. But that, I went with 2 sections of black pipe so I can transport it easier. This one I'm holding on to is a 3-foot section, and I don't guess it really matters as to which one goes where. And then a 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch union, so I can put the 4-foot section of pipe inside that. Giving me a really good upright, so the tarp will come across, and then I can take a rope and lash it off there, maybe drill a hole in it, I don't know. I've also, on the end cap here, went from a 1/2 inch to a 1/4. I think that's what it was. Either way, I went from the 1/2 inch pipe down to a a 1/2 inch bolt is what I wound up buying for it, but they won't fit through the tent grommets either, so I'm going to figure out a little bit of a better way to, as the tarp grommet comes down on there, just secure something to that to hold it tight. So that's my idea for the where am I? Okay, for the uprights, for the awning to go over the little kitchen. The reason for that is for open fire. So and I know you've seen me, I've started learning to cook better off of fire rings and open wood fire. So currently, at least around the house, I'm using the little planter rings as a fire ring. And that seems to work out pretty good. But that would be awful heavy to actually take anywhere. One of these days I'd like to learn how to weld. It would be really nice to build a steel firebox like I used to watch Johnny Nix use from RFD TV. I don't think he's cooking anymore though. I watched on Strong's Outdoor Adventures where he built him one very similar to that. It's pretty solid and robust. Anyhow, if I ever learn how to weld, I'd like to make my own little firebox, but as we've discussed here, it rains all the time. So an open fire, I just want that a little bit of a roof protection just in that case where someplace and it starts raining. So that's it for really for my little outdoor kitchen. It was a pretty fun little project. I've got maybe a week invested in it. Off and on the last couple 3 days I've been working on it pretty heavily. Before that it was just a couple hours each day as I was trying to figure it out. I would originally wanted to try to film it all in steps, but I spent a lot of time just mentally processing how I was going to do things, and I didn't know how to record that and everything, so I thought it might be easier to to come back after the fact and just kind of explain what I did, and I'll edit in some of the recordings that I already have. But yep, that's it for this. Hopefully you'll see it coming up in use. But that's it for my little outdoor kitchen. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.